Come on, man. You don't want to hurt anybody.
Yes, he does.
Why are you throwing the gun? Every time they always do
That's
that.
what they always do with Superman.
I know.
They empty the clip and then throw the gun at him.
This will
that's
do
when
it
he
though.
dodges.
Yeah,
That's when he dodges, yeah.
I do want to go ahead and get to the main portion of today's show, which, as I said before, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite films of all time, and that is John Carpenter's The Thing. A movie that I absolutely love and I feel like went underappreciated when it was originally released back in 1982. We're going to go over all the facts of that and the circumstances and things. But, before I go, some people might not have seen The Thing, Martin. There are small, wee little children. It's true, Vanny. Small, wee little children might not have been aware of this
Never
movie.
seen it? No?
You haven't seen The Thing? Oh, my God. Well, you know what? We're going to give you a crash course in The Thing and spoil and ruin the entire movie for you, for our guest right here. But for those who haven't seen it, we're going to go ahead and show the trailer. Kind of want to go over everyone's overall thoughts on the movie beforehand before we can do a deep dive into everything.
Sure.
As I said at the top, chat, The Thing is one of my John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a remake. It is one of my favorite films of all time. I love it because, Martin knows this and Vanny knows this. I am a sucker for body horror. And it has that in spades. But I also just love sci-fi horror. But it's just the craftsmanship, the idea of this creature which can imitate organic matter and be perfect at it, and how just vicious it is. I love that, and how not only is you get all the gore effects, you get all the cool body horror, but the sense of mistrust, the paranoia between all the characters that works so well for me. It really it makes the set. It improves upon the setting, which is already. I love it. I love that it's so isolated.
It's essentially a bottle film.
It is a bottle film. It's a bottle film where it takes place at this this Antarctic research facility with these guys who are kind of a powder keg. Like, some of them don't even like each other.
Sure.
They're all very different from each other. They're all researchers, geologists.
They've probably been out here in this isolated lab for way too long.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last thing they need is something like this.
Exactly. So resentment's already there, and so when you bring in an alien creature, it already it just exacerbates things. It makes things worse. And you have some fantastic performances, in my opinion, certainly with Kurt Russell's character. I love it. Who really just kind of, in my opinion, just really just realized his whole thing about being a leading man. I think at that time, already coming out with something like Escape from New York, but that really just showcased his abilities as an actor.
Well, it was really interesting to read that he was the last person cast, because they were
true.
so looking at so many different other people. Nick Nolte was one of them. There's like several people they were looking at. John Carpenter was like, I know I can rely on Kurt Russell. I just used him, but I want to cast a wider net and go into different people who were like, I would love to, but I'm not available, or no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And then him to finally go like, well, okay, I guess Kurt Russell will be fine.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
By default.
Yeah. And then, of course, people like Keith David. It was work for him, obviously. And and Wilford Brimley. And just a number of great character actors. Just popped
so
up.
many.
Yeah, and and the thing is, like, no one's wasted. Everyone gets something to do, and sometimes it's horrifying, and what happens to them is
something that impresses me about it is that you got just a cast of a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
It's like, for what you think of for characters, it's a kind of a lot of characters, and yet
it's a lot. Yeah.
They are all distinctive.
I mean, the film's score and the specific sequences and these practical effects, which is one of the things we're going to focus on. Like, the fact that so many of these still look as good as they do today is incredible to me. I love that. Yeah. So I personally love the movie. I'll go ahead and give my rating later on when we get to the end of this particular review.
Are we going to be shocked by your rating?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe. But Martin, your overall thoughts, and I know you already discussed some of your overall thoughts, but your overall thoughts on the film itself.
So I didn't see it in the theater when it came out. I had seen The Fog. I'd gone to the theater to see The Fog, which I didn't like.
Yeah.
And then when The Thing came out, 2 years later, I didn't see it, but I think it was a year later. I was at a comic book convention. somebody was showing it in one of the hotel rooms, or like there's some conference room they had it playing, and it was like midnight, and I forgot why I was even out. I think I had just arrived, and I was just like looking for something to do, and I just kind of sat in there just to kind of catch my breath, and it just started, and I got so wrapped up in this, just edge of my seat with the paranoia, and I was like, man, why didn't anybody tell me how awesome this movie is?
Nice. It's funny because I do a lot of audio and video commentaries for films and cartoons, and one of my big inspirations is John Carpenter's commentaries, because he's like, I love it because it feels like a commentary that we would do, because he just gets his friend, he calls Kurt Russell for all the commentaries, and so they get together, they're all having whiskey, he's having whiskey with them, and they're getting more progressively drunk as the film goes on. But it's funny, he brings up that same point where you can see deleted scenes of the stop motion in the movie, and he's like, oh, doesn't look good. And so there's a little bit of it in the final version, but you can find like several deleted scenes where it's like, ugh. And he was not impressed with that. But Vanny,
Vanny, I'm sorry.
Yeah, your overall thoughts on the thing?
I loved it as well. I finally saw this movie about 3 months ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was just I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were just kind of talking about movies that like have been on like our to watch list, and I still have a very long one. I've never seen the Godfather films, which I know is blasphemy, or Scarface, Raging Bull, things like that. And I did bring up The Thing, and that look, Martin, right there. Oh.
I would just tell you that you named all these films.
Yeah.
Scarface doesn't belong in that category.
It does not? Okay.
Honestly,
Scarface is a little overrated.
As an adult, you watch Scarface, it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Being someone who, like, also, I'm not really that big into horror films.
Me either.
Yeah. But seeing this one and still getting scares, like, even, like, I've heard of some of these iconic scenes, so even seeing it for the first time, like, was just still, like, terrifying. I had, like, all the standard jump scares of, like, those big moments, and was also still in just such awe of these practical effects that hold up.
And the other thing, I wanted to focus on, before we really do a deep dive into this movie itself, is I wanted to focus on John Carpenter himself, who to this day, I still feel like is an underappreciated creator, an underappreciated director. One, he was certainly underappreciated for his time, not only because of The Thing. With that film when it came out, as you said before, Martin, before we jumped into this review, the film was a commercial failure. It was a critical failure. Famously, Siskel and Ebert reviewed, and they gave it 2 thumbs down.
Did they both? I thought they were split on it.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think Gene liked it and Roger didn't.
Okay. Fair enough. But a lot of critics disliked the movie, and the movie I think barely made like $20 million overall.
It's a movie that debuted at number 8.
Now, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing specifically, is considered to be one of the greatest sci-fi horror films of all time. It's a movie that has influenced.
It was clearly ahead of its time, because the big criticism from critics was that it was too gory. Yeah, it's garbage. Sure, he can direct a train wreck, but not a movie.
Yeah,
and it's tame by today's standards.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, this is par for the course. It's what we're used to. And look at something like The Walking Dead, which, is even more overzealous and over the top than something like this, but clearly influenced. And that's the thing. Like, this film was so influential. That's his John Carpenter's career. This guy, his best years are obviously during the 1970s and the 1980s and the 1990s. Even he says, I lost it. He also popularized, he may not have started, but he popularized the slasher horror subgenre of Halloween. That was an incredibly influential movie.
Yeah, I guess so.
Without Halloween, we would not have Nightmare on Elm Street. We certainly wouldn't have Friday the 13th, which was a complete knockoff of Halloween. And all these other, films and slasher films throughout the 1980s and 90s. Wouldn't have Scream without him.
Well, sure.
Even Wes Craven said, the guy I looked at was John. It was John Carpenter, and they were very good friends. Okay. I like that respect. And along with that, we have some other recent filmmakers who are clearly inspired by John Carpenter today. It's for a movie that's actually coming out very soon.
Kids, get your popcorn and Thor Odinson.
So that outfit right there, you think, Thor, Love and Thunder. What does John Carpenter have to do with that? I'm thinking one of the biggest inspirations of Taika Waititi's version of Thor, which I think is the best version that we've gotten in these films. Love Thor Ragnarok.
Love it.
Love Thor Love and Thunder. But he even said it wouldn't exist without Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay.
You even look at Jack Burton's Kurt Russell again.
Yeah.
His outfit It's exactly the same as Thor's.
Yeah, yeah.
He
No,
has
no,
the
no,
shirt.
you're right,
It's
you're
just a
right.
Norse version of the shirt. He has the moccasin skin boots. He has the blue jeans and everything. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing there. But no, but he's one of those guys that gave credit to John Carpenter and said
that's cool.
Because his idea is like, I'm going to lean into Chris Hemsworth's sensibility. He's a great comedic actor. And what if we made Thor kind of the idiot and everyone else is competent around him? Which is what Jack Burton is.
Yeah.
Which again, that film was underappreciated ahead of its time.
Sure,
As well. And there's other people, and Vanny, you can probably speak more to this too. I mean, Hideo Kojima would not have a career without John Carpenter, thanks to Metal Gear Solid. Solid Snake is a complete and total ripoff of
Pliskin.
To the
point
course.
where Metal Gear Solid 2, like when you finally see Snake, he has to give himself a new name, and he calls himself Pliskin too.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I love the man. I love a lot of his work, and like I said, The Thing is an incredible film. But moving on from
even he says
that,
it's his best film.
yeah, that's true. He did say that. But now we can kind of move into the nitty-gritty details of tonight's review. One of the things I wanted to focus on, even like this film's opening, I love because it does a great job of showcasing of its environment and also establishing a sense of mystery, and also Ennio Morricone's score.
Yeah.
But for those that don't know, like Ennio Morricone probably best known for like westerns and spaghetti westerns, that kind of like The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Ecstasy of Gold. But he also scored this movie. But the opening of this film, to me, to this day, is absolutely brilliant. Well, they even have with that dog, just like, fuck, shit, Jesus. The things they're putting me through. It's funny because that dog apparently was actually half wolf. And it was kind of weird how it interacted.
Well,
it freaked out the
I
cast.
don't know if it was this dog or one of the other dogs.
They did use multiple dogs.
Yeah,
That's true.
but like one of them, they died to look like the other dog.
Yeah, they did do that.
Did you read that whole thing about Ennio Morricone's score?
No.
How like the movie's getting trashed,
Yeah.
and his score got trashed. They even won a Razzie or was nominated for a Razzie.
Wow. Yeah.
wow.
So for The Hateful Eight, which he scored, he just reused the same music and won an Oscar for it.
Oh my God! Just to get back at the Academy or just all those critics. That's brilliant. I love that.
No, the Razzies are shit.
No, they
That's
are.
what that
Nowadays,
is.
before they were like kind of like, oh, they're kind of relevant and point out the worst of the worst. But nowadays, like, oh wow, you got they're so out of touch. That's what it is. But
Yeah,
no,
very much.
this score is brilliant, and the setup to the movie is brilliant. It's like I just love the sense of mystery already because the movie really literally opens up in the Antarctic wastes.
Yeah.
You're following this dog, which is running away from this helicopter, and these Norwegians, not Swedes, Mac, Norwegians, they're adamant about killing this thing.
Right.
And I just
You're like,
love
why
that.
are you guys trying to kill a dog?
Yeah. Which initially like, don't do that. We were already caring about the dog, but
Yeah.
of course, the dog ends up not actually being
A dog.
a dog, and that's where we really get to start to showcase some of the films, which it's one of the things it's best known for are its incredible and revolutionary practical effects. You just got this thing shitting in intestines. It's just the body horror. And the thing about this, I still think this probably holds up to this day.
Oh yeah,
You
it does
know,
for me.
when you-
It's
when
creeping
you-
me out just looking at it now.
When you compare it to the 2011 prequel film where it's a CGI, that shit looked dated even at the time, but
Yeah,
that
man.
just shows you how
CGI
amazing this
just
movie
doesn't
is.
hold up.
No, it does not. It ages the worst. It's the practical nature of these effects is what because it feels real.
Yeah,
You can and you get the actors interact with
it has
it.
weight
Yeah.
and gravity.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It's best to use practical effects and maybe sweeten it some with CG, but
Layer of CGI on
Right.
top, which the best filmmakers do today.
I tell you, man, what caught me just from the clip you showed was just how much Kurt Russell looks like his son Wyatt Russell.
I know.
That
I know.
that I was like, wow, how did I not even see it the first time Wyatt came on screen?
No, not
The blonde hair throws you off.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that's Goldie Hawn's hair in there. No, I love Wyatt Russell. I think he's incredibly talented. But just to showcase the rest of the scene because I think it's brilliant. Just how the puppetry, how this thing transforms animatronics. It's absolutely brilliant. The poor dogs. And I love this shot right here where this thing continues to transform. It's so cool. Goddamn right it was. Yeah. I just and the thing about it too, the actors sell the effects.
Very much.
They're not laid back. They're not lackadaisical. They're like, holy fuck. Because one, it helps that they can see it. It's not like you're just staring at two tennis balls or something like that. Like,
or a photo.
Exactly. Their reactions feel real to me.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that work best about the movie.
Sure. Yeah. You think if somebody called you in a flamethrower to take care of something.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna wait. What?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even before this scene happens, like you have, I forget one of the. It's not Palmer, but it's the other guy. It's one of the first people to be transformed to the thing, gets absorbed. He's like, and Mac wants the flamethrower, and Charles is like, what? And he's like, you heard him, the flamethrower. And I love that. They sell in the chaos. 'Cause they don't even know what's going on. They have no idea this is happening. This is the first time they're seeing the actual thing. Yeah, you want to say something?
No, there's moments when especially where you can see a lesser director or a lesser special effects team could have messed this up, and especially with the tendrils that are reaching out into the dogs. Like, if all it would have taken is just like one scene where it would have looked a little jilted, or if you can see like strings attached, or anything of a lesser film that would have taken you completely out of there. And watching that scene again just now still feels terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it looks natural for an unnatural creature, which is, again, just a testament to just how amazing these special effects can be and why they stand the test of time.
It's a thing that John Carpenter even said that hurt the movie itself. This came out 2 weeks after Spielberg's E.T.
Yeah.
And he said we were the antithesis of E.T. We were the nasty cousin. We were the film that no one wanted to see because of we did all these horrible things, and we don't have a happy ending where the alien goes off and it's all mutual understanding.
The U.S. was also in a recession.
Yeah,
and
too.
everybody was down. So E.T. was, even though it had its sad parts, was a happy film.
It was, yeah.
This is not.
No. I mean, it has a very dark and disturbing, which we will get to.
It's very 70s in that way.
No, yeah, definitely, yeah. No, I mean, Carpenter was carrying over his 70s sensibilities to the 80s for a lot of his filmmaking.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, yes, obviously you have these revolutionary practical effects, many of which hold up to this day. But the other thing that I like about this movie is just the environmental storytelling, the unknown. And one of my favorite sequences is when Mac and Dr. Copper, him and his little nose ring, they go to the Norwegian camp. I think it's pretty cool.
God, what the hell happened here? Come on, Doc.
It's all explained in the 2011 prequel film. What are you talking about? I love the environmental storytelling in this movie. Like, even the shot before this one, you have it where they find the axe embedded in the wall. Like, it really sets up like, okay, something horrible happened here, to the point where you had a guy literally slit his own wrist to prevent whatever horror affecting him. Like, I love that about this movie. It's the not telling, but letting the environment, letting the set speak for itself. It's brilliant. And moving on from that, I mean, obviously focusing on the creature itself, but one of the other things I love about this movie is, as we've talked about before, was the sense of paranoia with the characters, and that also was an enemy within the movie itself, and it's perfectly captured here with Kurt Russell just monologuing to himself, speaking to a recorder.
Storm's been hitting us hard now for 48 hours. Nobody trusts anybody now. Nobody trusts anybody now.
One of the things about this scene that I really like, and I notice it throughout the movie as my multiple rewatches, is that R.J. McCready's an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
So many of the scenes within this movie, he has whiskey in his hand. He has a glass of it, whether, always neat too, a lot of the time.
Well, it's funny because all through the 70s and bleeding over into the 80s, everybody drank casually. You can go watch old episodes of Columbo, which is at the early 70s, and a L.A. detective has come to question you about a murder, and your first thing is, "Can I get you a drink?"
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm working. Never mind. So that kind of thing was all the time. But like now, you look at stuff, you're like, man, everybody's an alcoholic back then, and it's true.
True, yeah.
They don't work.
Watch Mad Men again,
Yeah. What I see with this is like, man, so many people do scenes like this, and they're so clumsy.
Yes.
About
Agreed.
somebody suddenly narrating things, and even Blade Runner, which had come out the same year.
Infamous,
it tripped
infamous.
over its own dick with the whole, the narration that is clearly done after the fact. And not that this is like, voiceover through the whole thing, but just having a scene in here where you need to get exposition across.
Yeah.
So often now, you just like, you see it coming, you're like, God damn it, here we go.
Right.
And this one is just woven in there.
Yeah.
To where, the way Kurt Russell plays it, the whole setting of it, just feels like it's just flowing with everything else.
Well, he knows that he needs to keep a record, and even though he was not, that's the thing about his character, like he's not supposed to be in a leadership position. He's supposed to be all these other figures, but they've never encountered something like this, never been to war. Which, John Carpenter, even though it's not heavily implied within the movie itself, John Carpenter said he told Kurt Russell, this guy's a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
He was a helicopter pilot, and as you know, the life expectancy for helicopter pilots in Vietnam was low, and so all of his friends have died. This is just to help Russell's own performance,
Right.
And so he just has that, where he's always so melancholy, where he's always an alcoholic, where he's always drinking, and where he feels like he has to leave just a last bit, maybe not such a will and testament, just to tell people like this is what we're going through. And I think it sells it. Yeah, it feels natural.
Yeah.
Like even like his cadence, you can even tell that he's a little slow because of the alcohol.
Sure.
Too at this point. So yeah, it's a really underrated role. And again, why to me, I mean, much like with Escape from New York, why this really does showcase his abilities as a leading man. Because I feel like Kurt Russell should have been that guy like an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like when you think of like the guy the leading action stars of the '80s, Stallone or Schwarzenegger. I'm always surprised that a lot of people don't put Kurt Russell up there because he always seemed more, subtle with his performance.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Snake Plissken is he's a
anti-hero.
He's a cartoon hero.
Sure.
I mean, not in a bad way, but that's what the role is.
Yeah.
But McCready is a real guy.
Yeah. No, fully agree. Moving on from just kind of the McCready himself, there are some other people I wanted to focus on because a lot of people's like, oh yeah, when the first person you think of when you think of The Thing in terms of the actors is always Kurt Russell and McCready, but I love Wilford Brimley in this.
I was wondering if you could bring
Sure.
it
Yeah. Oh, I got Wilford Brimley. I love the man. Famously, I think Martin, when when Wilford Brimley passed away, we did that segment on him, and we brought up his performance in The Thing, which I think is iconic. And I love how in the movie he starts out as this common sense scientist who he's the one who figures out like what this creature actually is. He does the autopsies. He predicts that. I love that sequence, even though now it's like, I don't know if this makes sense, but based on his calculations, if this thing gets loose onto the mainland, it would completely absorb the world and convert everyone within 3 years. Horrifying, like every not just humans, every single organism, and flips out.
You don't understand.
Come on, man. You don't want to hurt anybody.
Yes,
Why are you throwing the gun? Every time they always do
That's
that.
what they always do with Superman.
I know.
They empty the clip and then throw the gun at him.
This will do it though. Yeah,
That's when he dodges.
Yeah. No, this will do it. But no, I love how the rest of the scene plays out.
Got me, Greedy.
I love that when you see Fuchs, he's like, I'm just gonna. I don't care. I'm gonna get out of this. Beat the shit out of Wilford Brimley. But no, and the rest of his scenes in the film, again, his character is also to sow even more mistrust with everybody else.
Sure. Right.
Like when McCready goes to him for advice, or when he's just asking like, who do you think also is infected. You have the whole amazing sequence where he's eating some, I don't know, Campbell's soup or something like that, and you have the news, and he's like, "It ain't Fuchs." He's like, "I want to come back inside. Just let me come. Hey man, let me come back inside."
I don't think so.
No. His performance is great to me. I absolutely love it, both the subtlety of it and the over exaggeratedness of it. I think it's really fun.
Well, I think that's the thing that makes this film so amazing too, is that everyone's performances, outside of when they're interacting with the thing, they're so restrained and they're so just kind of calm and trying to process their way through this.
Initially.
And so the contrast of when the creature starts doing things is just like the juxtaposition is so brilliant for that too.
On to the effects. Continuous on. There are several amazing moments too that always stand on my mind, and of course we got to talk about the defibrillator scene.
Oh yeah.
beautiful baby. He was pregnant the whole time. We just didn't realize it. I love the puppetry for this. And what's so great about this scene, too, is that it evolves. It just doesn't end with a puppet.
Yeah.
Like, his whole body, this is when the part, they establish that his body is all sorts of different things. Every single cell is a different organism trying to run away, trying to rip apart so it can save itself. It's so cool to me.
Well, it seemed like the whole idea of the defibrillator, that you go through the chest and the teeth bite the arms off, and so many in any other movie that would have been, oh, that's it, that's
right.
that's the period on the sentence.
Yeah.
And this goes like, oh no, now we come to this.
Yeah.
This the tendrils pulling out, and then the head, and then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So by the time it's done, you're just like,
Yeah. It continues to evolve or devolve or get even worse for all the characters. But yeah, it continues on after this.
We're on fire, McWade! We're on fire!
And of course, you think the head's going to get away, but this thing continues to evolve. And that really showcases like the different abilities of the creature itself and all the various organisms probably, stolen from and absorbed over the various years. But like,
no, its sense of self-preservation is strong.
it's incredible. It's admirable. Like even here, which we also get a very famous line.
You gotta be kidding.
Hey guys. It was begging for mercy. It's like, please look into your heart. I love that sequence. And again, that scene inspired other filmmakers. We did a retro review not too long ago for Robert Rodriguez's Faculty, where they steal that steal that line. Not nearly as good as that scene, but again, showing the influence of the sequence.
Yeah.
And aside from that scene, which it's a perfect blending of both the tension and the mistrust and also the practical effects, and that of course is the infamous blood test scene.
You were the only one that could have got to that blood. We'll do you last.
I'm not expecting that.
Well, that's the thing. That's what works about it, because Palmer, he's the goof. He's the comic relief. He's smoking weed all the time.
They almost got a bunch of comedy actors to play that role.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah. It was. I wish I could remember who some of the names were, but they were very comedic actors. Charles Fleischer, who did the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Oh,
he was up for it.
Wow. Okay.
It was 2 or 3 other guys, but they went with this guy who's mostly not necessarily a dramatic actor, but not a comedian, but who could sell being the pot smoking guy.
And I think he did
I think he's
very
perfect for it.
No, he is. But even like how they do this, like the blood, it's very simple tricks. It's magnets because of the iron in it. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It's brilliant. Like, I love that. There's something about this because it's chaotic, it's horrifying, it's funny that they are literally inches away from this guy and they can't move.
They can't move. Yeah.
And there's so much going on in this scene. All the actors are killing it.
Yeah.
They're all selling their reactions. Again, they're acting in the right way to all these practical effects. But there's a shot right here that I love it because it's so alien how it jumps up to the ceiling. It's so creepy to me. Yeah, that shot right there. I love the way this thing moves.
Well, also the big thing about testing blood was that this is the beginning of the AIDS crisis.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So whereas the original movie from the 50s was all about the Red Scare, and the scare of communism, this was about infected blood.
Again.
Wait, you got my favorite clip?
Of course I do, Mark.
This
Come
is my
on.
absolute favorite clip.
I got the clip. Don't worry.
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter
Tied to the couch!
Okay. All right, we got it. No, that's the thing. Like, there are some iconic lines in this movie that sound to this day that I reference, that you reference. I know that's one of your absolute favorites.
Yeah.
No, it's great. So there's still a little comedy like in this movie as well. It's a nice balance. But eventually, moving on from this, we do get to the thing that a lot of people have discussed over time. Like, okay, is a lot of people have read into this scene, and that, of course, is famously the ending between MacReady and Childs.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
So there's a lot of fan speculation with this scene, where, you know, famously, towards the end of the film, the last third, Childs, who was supposed to stay back at the facility to keep watch, he leaves.
Right.
He comes back at the end of the movie. Kurt Russell's like, where the hell were you? And he's like, I saw somebody. I thought I saw Blair. Because Wilford Brimley turns out to be infected by the thing. And, like, they don't know. They don't know if... We know that Kurt Russell is not the thing, but we don't know about Childs.
Right.
Now, fans have pointed out for years that with Keith David, there's no breath coming from him at all. There's no...
We just saw it.
But with Kurt Russell, we see it.
No. We saw it with Keith David as well.
Do we? I'll see it.
Yeah.
I didn't
as a matter of
notice
fact,
that.
because I was thinking about, because I read about how Kurt Russell would take a drag on a cigarette to make...
Oh, to make it more, to stand out. Okay.
But then I just saw it with Keith David just then. I was like, I wonder if he did the same thing.
Okay, so maybe that is actually the case within this scene. But the other part of it is that people say, like, the whiskey that he has, that's not actually whiskey, that's gasoline. Because they make the Molotov cocktails, because they're trying to burn down the facility.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so he gives it to Childs, the thing, takes a drink, and he's like, and that's why he starts laughing. Now, the thing that kind of puts the kibosh in all of this, John Carpenter said, no, he's human.
Yeah.
But he said, but if fans want to view it that way, he's like that's fine by me. I think that's fine. But the thing is, I like that this film inspires conversation. Even the whole timeline of, okay, who gets infected when? Because that's really fun to me. People have all their theories and videos, but
I just left. I've always had the impression that they actually did kill the creature.
Yeah.
But they still can't trust each other.
That's it.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're just going to die here in the ice. Because we cannot take the chance of this thing getting out. So.
And that's a way to interpret the ending completely.
That's
like,
how I took it, too.
It is, you know, they want to prevent, like, the apocalypse from happening, so, like, we both need to die. Like, this is not a happy ending. I mean, they defeat the creature,
it's
but everyone
no happy
dies.
ending anywhere around.
Yeah. I mean, even before then, like 20 minutes before this, when they realize they have to destroy the facility, they're like, we're going to die here. This is what we have to do. You know, this is what we have to do.
No, the Norwegians had the right idea.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. But yeah, that's just kind of, you know, like the very scenes I wanted to cover. Unless anyone else had anything that they wanted to say about this movie, you know, infamously, there was the 2011 prequel film, which was a huge bomb, commercially and critically, much like
Which it needed to be.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be one where people look back and go like, oh, maybe we were wrong about this.
There are some people. There's some people out there that to this day that say, "Oh, the effects on that are even better than the original movie." I'm like, you're out of your goddamn mind.
I completely forgot this thing.
I always forget it exists, and it was just completely unnecessary at the time. I will say this: Dark Horse Comics did a sequel to this.
I've read those.
Oh.
That was good.
Yeah.
Because at the time I was like, I don't know, guys, but I was like, all right, this is good. Fantastic artwork, by the way.
I've seen. I think I own some of those comics. They also made a game, I want to say, in the early 2000s, which acted as a sequel on PS2, where you go and investigate Outpost 31 facility and these other things, and it's a government cover-up, and they want to weaponize the thing, and famously, you find the body of Childs, who froze to death.
Okay.
You know, performed that blackrifice. Yeah. I've coined it, Martin. I've coined it on this show. Yeah. There you go. TM. But Kurt Russell survives, where he inexplicably rescues. He's like, "Hi, I'm McCready. I'm a helicopter pilot." After you're fighting this giant abomination creature, I don't want anything connected to this. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
They tried to do in 2011, and that was mess, in my opinion. It was too damn bad, because I was like, it could have been interesting, but
Just found
no
it
bother.
completely unnecessary.
It was unnecessary because I liked the mystery of the Norwegian camp. That was cool. The environmental storyline I thought was great. But yeah, no, just to wrap up, we can go over kind of everyone's final thoughts on the film. I do think this is one of the greatest sci-fi horror films of all time. It succeeds when it comes to its storytelling. I think the performances are great. The camaraderie between the actors is amazing, and their interaction with practical effects is very good. You know, outstanding leading man in Kurt Russell's R.J. McCready, who is incredibly flawed, and it's an impactful and influential movie. It's one of my favorite films of all time. This is the very definition on the double toasted scale of a better than sex. Martin, yourself.
I would say it's a better than sex also, because it's rare you find a movie that is old, 40 years old, that still holds up in every way and can really pull you in and completely hold your attention, and all the kudos in the world for how influential it has been. And it's influential in that way where sometimes a movie has been influential so that by the time somebody new goes to watch it, they go, oh, I've seen this already. I've seen this and this and this. But even all the places that have been influenced and copied it, none of them have done it as well as this movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think this is a reminder of when films were willing to take chances with things too, where all of your actors look like regular people. Like I feel like if they were going to remake this film now, everyone's going to look like a model, or everyone these high name actors.
Good point.
And it's not going to feel real. And that's the thing between this, watching Alien and Aliens for the first time, where everything feels like this could actually happen.
Yeah.
And like between the setting, the lighting, the restraint, the performances. Like everything feels like if your neighbor said, like, I just got back from Antarctica and you will not believe what I just went through.
Yeah.
And I feel like again, if they do it now, it's going to be super polished and it's going to look so clean to the point that it's going to take you away from what's actually happening to, and they'll CGI the crap out of it, and then we're just kind of left with a forgettable film. And something with this kind of pedigree deserves so much better than that. And I think to your point, like, leave it the hell alone.
Don't touch the thing. Don't do it. All right, it's fine. You're going to get infected, and it will all be worse for it. So
you ruined my Indiana Jones. Don't ruin the thing.
Don't do it. There's so many franchises that they've ruined. So yeah, keep your hands off of it, please.